welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you're on our summit. I was on your summit recently, and I wanted to get you on my summit because you're doing some really cool things. So welcome to the Blue Ocean Business Summit.
Thank you very much. I am honored to be on this summit. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I was honored when you came on mine, and now I'm even more honored to be on yours.
Well, it's really cool that we're both doing similar things.
Yeah.
And you come from a very different standpoint than I do. Just give people an idea of the many hats that you wear.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a marine scientist. So my life and passion is all about science, and it's led me into a variety of different ways. A lot of people in my industry, we go into science, we become researchers, or we environmental consultants, or work for government, and I've done all of that, and I still never really felt fulfilled. And so it led me to into that entrepreneurship kind of avenue, and it really led me into just doing different things. So I founded a website called Speak Up for Blue, which is essentially a website that promotes education and awareness of what's happening in the ocean and how people can take action to combat or find solutions, or actually use the knowledge to provide solutions for ocean issues that you've talked about, I'm sure, on this summit with the many guests that you've had. And then from that, it kind of got me to, well, why can't I start a business that is not just about money, but it actually helps the ocean, provides me with an income, and does some good for not only the ocean, but maybe even society or local people or wherever I decide that I think where I'm needed the most. So what I do is I use my science and my experience to help other people either get into science or get into conservation or conserve the ocean. It really varies all around. So quite a busy lifestyle, but it's a fun one.
Well, this is the thing, is that all the people on this summit wear a lot of hats, and this can create a certain amount of resistance for those who are going, I'm not doing all that stuff. I'm just going to run my business. But we have discovered that there's a magic to wearing a lot of hats, and there's a way to do it where you don't get burnt out. And we're going to talk about that today. But I think it's essential for us right now to learn how to wear lots of hats and not get overwhelmed. One of the things that you brought up in your Speak Up for Blue, which I really want to touch base on right now, which is it's important to the dive industry, and that is the citizen scientist trend. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Well, I'll first define it. Citizen science is essentially anybody who's not a scientist is taking part in some sort of scientific activity. A lot of times it usually has to do with some kind of field work. And the reason why it's a benefit to science, or let's just say oceans, because we're talking about the dive industry and whatnot, is that there aren't enough scientists or conservationists out there to really cover what's happening in the ocean, all the ocean issues, and the questions that we need to answer to understand the ocean and fix what we've done. Right, because it's usually us that have done things. So, well, it's true.
It's true. Totally true.
Yeah. So what we do is we put programs together. Not me specifically, but a lot of scientists have come together and they put programs together that actually allow people to either take a vacation or volunteer to actually take part in science and contribute to conservation just like we do in everyday lifestyle. And to be honest, I always find it funny because, when I meet somebody and I say, oh yeah, I'm a marine biologist, they're always like, oh, that's what I wanted to do when I was 14, and it's like, it's true. Well, now you can do it again. And a lot of them are like, that's really cool. How can I take part, or how can I do this? And I tell them, like, citizen science, this is the best thing that's ever happened. Instead of taking a vacation to an all-inclusive resort, you go somewhere, maybe go diving and you do a reef survey, and that reef survey contributes to scientists who are doing research to assess the reefs around the world, because we can't be everywhere at once. So that's the benefit.
Well, it's really great that you see businesses teaming up with the science world and the nonprofit world to be able to do this, and I can see it taking off all around the world. I mean, I've been talking to a lot of people, and it's a trend that is really growing.
Absolutely.
Can you give some examples?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of different examples. I'll touch obviously on the mostly the oceanic ones and the ones that really deal with the dive industry. There's one that I actually did an app for, a mobile app for. It's Shark Savers. They came out, and now they're part of Wild Aid right now. They came out with a citizen science program where divers, when they're diving, can take a sheet down either in the ocean, or they can just kind of they can have a sheet with a clipboard in the ocean, write down the information, or write it when they get topside. But if they see a shark, they can help survey that shark. So they can write down what type of shark they think it is, how certain they are, because sometimes visibility isn't great. The size, the shape, if there's any injuries, all these different types of information that are important to scientists, so that and then what happens, that data gets sent with this app. We haven't implemented it yet, but essentially what happens, the data gets sent to researchers, or gets sent to Shark Savers, and it goes to the researchers. And then they do essentially an assessment, a global assessment based on divers' activity all around the world who take part in this. And I think it's a fantastic idea, because a lot of divers, when they go in the water, they want to see something that's big and that's sharky type thing, right? We all love to see sharks when we dive, most of us anyway. And when you see it, it's great. And you get that experience, that life experience. But the fact that you can contribute to research to help save those sharks gives you that better feeling. When you say, oh, I did a dive, that's great. You did a dive. It's really cool. People are interested. What did you see on your dive? I saw a shark. By the way, I sent all the data and I sent it back to University of Miami researchers, and now they're looking at this stuff. And people are like, wow, that's amazing. I can't believe you just did that on one dive. So it just kind of makes you feel good after it's done. After you collected that information, and you've contributed to science, which I think is fantastic.
This is where we're going.
Yeah.
We used to just want to, get wet and look and see what's underneath the ocean. We didn't really know what was going on. And then we started into identifying fish and that kind of thing. And the citizen science programs that are running now, it's really about contribution. People want to do something.
Absolutely.
We'd have to be pretty blind not to see that things are going on in the ocean that are really not good.
No, for sure.
And so what these science programs do is they really help people to fulfill a need to contribute. It is so amazing how these programs are taking off. So you did one with Shark Savers. Any other ones you can name?
Yeah, there's one called seaturtles.org. And I think the whole title is See the Turtles. And this is it was co-founded by Brad Nahill and Wallace J. Nichols, and who's Jay's awesome, and I got to meet Brad, and I actually had a conversation with him last week, and we'll get into that near the end of this podcast, this show. But they co-founded a foundation to help protect sea turtles, and divers and people who are involved in this kind of area, they always want to protect things that they see. When you go diving, especially if you've been diving for a long period of time, you've noticed a change. There are some dive sites that are beautiful, almost untouched and pristine. And there's most of the dive sites, though, a lot of people have seen a change in coral reefs, or lack of turtles, or lack of sharks, and so forth. So going to these kind of See the Turtles, you get to go down to, they start off in Costa Rica. You get to go down, it's part of an ecotourism package. So you pay to go down, and you hook up with this ecotourism sort of outfit, a local ecotourism outfit, where most of the money goes to. So the money stays locally. And then you go and you do conservation. So a lot of the sea turtles come up on the beaches, they lay their eggs, build their nests, lay their eggs. You protect those nests from being poached. Now, there's a lot of benefits to this. And I was actually talking to Brad about this. I said, normally just the fact that it's a conservation aspect, that's a great benefit. But the money that goes into it, that you pay into it if you go down, stays locally, right? And what that does is it shows the local people that are a part of this that turtles are better alive than dead. They're worth more money alive than dead. And what people have been doing, they've been eating them. They've been eating the eggs, eating the turtles, selling the shells for tourism purposes, and people were buying it. But people actually want to see the turtles more. Right? And now with all the species of turtles, there's 7 species of turtles. They're all endangered of some sort. So protection is ideal, right? So this outfit, See the Turtles, brings you down there. gets you exposed to sea turtles, the eggs. Sometimes you get to see hatchlings go to the beach, and you help them go to the beach. You monitor them. You do surveys and stuff like that. And then you work with local people, so you get that culture. You get enriched. You go home, you tell everybody. You know that the local people are feel better about themselves. They like it better because the money stays locally. And everybody benefits. So there's benefits to the environment, socially, and just the feeling you get when you said, I may have gotten to see a sea turtle, or I saw a sea turtle egg, or I protected a sea turtle nest, and let those 100 sea turtles go off into the ocean, and hopefully they'll survive and become adults, which is a fantastic feeling that you get.
It's all about that ecosystem, that business ecosystem that we call the sustainable business model, right? That's the
Absolutely.
people, profit, planet. The local people are benefiting.
Yeah.
They're making money running the business, and the planet are those charismatic megafauna, those turtles, are benefiting as well. And I think there's so many other organizations around the world that are doing citizen science, and we've got a few that are on the summit here.
Right.
We've got Ken Niedermeyer from the Coral Restoration Foundation. They do citizen science.
Yeah.
We've got Chloe Harvey, Green Fins. They do citizen science, and as well as Reef Check does citizen science.
Yes. And Reef Check, what I like about Reef Check is every dive operation can adapt Reef Check, so they can take it on and they can teach their students or the divers how to do it as well. And I that's what I love about these programs, is that anybody can do them. You just maybe need a bit of teaching, like the actual protocol and the actual methods, but really anybody can do them. You don't have to be a scientist to do this kind of stuff.
But it is science-based. That's the neat thing.
Absolutely.
It's not just some operator saying, I'm going to make some money running these programs and take them to see a turtle. The information actually goes someplace, and it's used for very important research.
Absolutely.
And that's this is where the dive industry can really shine if we start to partner with people, with scientists and nonprofits who are all about biodiversity and protecting endangered species, protecting the oceans. If we can start partnering with them, and we can bring the customers, and they have the science and the protocols. And our customers love us because we're giving them something more to do than just look at pretty things if we're lucky. They get to contribute in a big way, and that's a big need. That's a human need.
Yeah, it's a huge need. Not only just to make us feel good, but we need to work to protect our oceans. I mean, it's fundamental in sort of conservation and to our eventual survival. I know it may sound extreme, but it really is. And the fact that the one good thing about the citizen science program is that scientists love to partner. We love to collaborate, and we love to share our expertise. And these citizen science programs allows us to do that. I mean, one of the benefits of being a scientist is we get to go out in the field. Like part of my job is I get to go out in the ocean. That's my job. I'm at work today. I got to go to the ocean. I mean, who gets to do that? As a citizen science now, you get to do that, and you get to do science and feel how we feel about being outside all the time and not in front of a computer all day. Obviously my life has changed since then, but that's what I used to do all the time, and that was the greatest part. But then when you're out there, you just get that need. You always want to protect it. And I've talked to divers. I'm a diver as well, and I've talked to divers, and they're just like, I see the change. I want to help. How can I help? But they don't think they can. And I tell them, Reef Check, awesome. Shark Savers, awesome. You contribute. You don't even feel like you're contributing, but you contribute to the world of science, which contributes to conservation. And it's like the first sort of leg in the whole conservation process. So it's a huge benefit. And the fact that dive operations can take this on and easily adapt it into their program is, to me, as a benefit to their bottom line. And you mentioned how, and it's what we call in the social entrepreneur kind of field, the sustainable entrepreneur kind of field, however you want to call it, it's the triple bottom line. You protect the environment, you protect society, you make sure society is fine, and then you get your profit. You may not get like oil rich. You know what I mean? Like it may not be like billions and billions of dollars. It could be, depending on your idea. Look at Richard Branson. He's a billionaire and he does this all the time. it's possible, but it's that triple bottom line that it's like that full, you get that full encompassing holistic kind of view in the business world, which people never thought it could be done before, until sort of, people like Richard Branson and Adam Braun started doing this kind of thing. And now the dive industry can really take hold of it because there's so many programs available. It's easy to adapt. Having hire a scientist as a dive instructor and have them go out and you teach about the ecology of what they're actually seeing, and people get more in tune. They're more careful when they dive, and they're more observant when they dive.
And they're more connected. And this is one of the things that we have a problem with.
Yeah.
Is that we're disconnected from the ocean. And if we really want to engage our customers, this is a perfect opportunity. And not only does it engage them, it really fires them up.
Sure.
And they tell everybody what a great time they had. One of the things you said reminds me, when I was in high school, what I really wanted to do is I wanted to become a marine biologist.
Right.
That was my goal. And I took all of my sciences and all of my maths and my physics and my chemistry and I took everything so that I could go into science. But my father kind of burst my bubble by telling me that, well, hon, there's not that many jobs out there, and if you really want to get a job, you need to go into business.
Right.
So I did go into business, and but obviously I kind of got into the dive business. Yeah. And now I'm sure there's lots of people like me who, as you said, we wanted to be a marine biologist, we wanted to go in the ocean, but now is the opportunity. All of those people that got inspired by Jacques Cousteau and all these other, heroes of the ocean, we can still do this. We can still connect and be scientists, and I think it's really exciting that we're actually doing something of value. It's not just kind of, I don't know, in a way, just going diving is a little bit self-centered, really.
I mean, you almost feel like it's just benefiting you. And if you think about it from a dive operator's perspective, of course, I've never owned a dive operation, and I'm very biased towards the environment, but you are dependent, as a dive operator, you are dependent on the health of your ocean, of where you take people out to dive. You're dependent on that. If your reef or your dive site that you take them out is gone, right? All the biodiversity is gone, all the fish are gone, or they're dead, or it's in ruin. Nobody's going to want to dive there. I mean, that's the first people, like when I talk to people, it's like, oh, how was it out there? First people said, oh, it was beautiful, it was really healthy. That's what they want to see. They don't want to see, plastic bags all over the place, or a shopping cart, or a tire, or like no reef where there was reef there 20 years ago. They don't want to see that. They want to see a healthy reef. So as a dive operator, I can see it just being, we need to protect our dive sites, even if it's just locally the dive sites. It's kind of like going back to that think globally, act locally kind of thing. You take care of your dive site. I know in Bermuda they have an annual trash pickup where all the scuba divers get together and they get free air. So all the dive operators provide them with free air, and they go and they pick up all the litter and trash that are on the reef or on the beaches or anywhere underwater. Right? And that just goes to show, everybody's taking ownership of the dive sites. The divers want to dive on healthy reefs. They want to keep them healthy. They see it all the time, so you get that protection, right? That protective feeling, just like Jacques Cousteau said, we protect what we love. And as soon as you dive, you're going to fall in love with anything you see, because it's just awesomeness, right? That's what it is. So as a dive operator, the way I see it is okay, I got to protect this. So when I bring my people down here, I'm going to tell them how important this site is to me, right? Or the multiple sites that I dive at. And I say, this is what we're doing to help out. We do annual or monthly trash pickups with local divers. We do educational tours. We teach the naturalists, advanced course where you can identify certain species, just so people get more and more connected. I believe it was. I'm not sure if I know the name particularly well. Southern Cross. Is it Southern Cross?
Southern Cross Club, yeah.
Southern Cross Club. They bring out people at their local bar, and they have scientists talk to them. That's awesome, because you're learning about the dive sites that they know about, that they've done research on, and it's just fantastic. Something that you can learn about. Then you want to protect that ocean that part of the ocean.
Something you said twigged this on me. Of course, we have social media now, which we didn't when back in the 80s when the dive industry exploded. And now we have social media. So word travels fast when a place is trashed.
Yes.
Now I hear, because you're on the coral list, I'm on the coral list. I hear from some operators, they say, you know what, there's so many new divers coming online. Now this is in Asia, of course. There's so many new divers coming online that, they don't even know what a reef's supposed to look like. So we don't really care. And this in here lies a cautionary tale, because sooner or later, usually sooner, they're going to come across some people who do know what the reef's supposed to look like, and they're going to tell them what it's supposed to look like, and it's game over. So you can't hide behind this that, oh well, it's trash, but nobody knows because everybody's all new divers. It doesn't wash.
Well, and I think the one thing that they don't realize is that the diver community, although there are many divers out there, it's still a close-knit community. Dive operators in Egypt that I know always talk about how the reefs have been degraded, and they talk to them about, they talk to their divers saying, this is what it used to be like, and this is what it is now. This is what we need to do to protect it. And they tell them, and those are the dive operators that you want. You want to, they want to take you out to the best place possible, but they also want to say, we don't have the best place possible anymore because this is what's happened. The divers, you're right, new divers may not know the difference. I still have scientists, Tom Goro, a very famous Jamaican scientist. He tells me all the time, I told him I dove in Jamaica, Port Antonio, and I said it was beautiful out there. I'm like, it was awesome. He goes, yeah, it's nothing the way it used to be. And I could just imagine, I couldn't even fathom what it used to be because I thought that was beautiful, but he said a lot of them have died off just because of runoff and things like that. He goes, you saw the better part of all of Jamaica, but there's a lot of places that, have degraded, and it's sad for them to see because they still dive to this day, but they're going to tell people. And you'll see, that coral list, people that are on it have been on it for ages, and they've been around science and conservation for decades, and they will be the first to tell you, it's like, no, wait, hold on a sec, this isn't right. And one thing you said really kind of just intrigued my mind is we're getting a lot more Asian divers. There's 1 billion people in China, right? Over 1 billion people in India. If they start diving, we have to really educate our divers on not only about what it used to be like, what it is like now, but what we have to be careful of and sort of the ethics of diving. And I think that's where this education, this sort of social entrepreneurship in the dive industry, where you talk about, how the local people depend on these dive sites and the production from these dive sites, whether it be food or protection, that's where that education is really going to benefit their business. Because what's happening now, there's a real movement of social entrepreneurship and customers who are socially conscious and ethically conscious. So you're seeing a lot more people. There's a reason why ecotourism is growing, because when people go away, they don't want to harm the environment that they're going away in. They want to see the beauty, but they also want to see the culture and the people, and they want the people to enjoy their own place, right? They want it to be sustainable. So I think dive operators in the future are going to have to sort of adapt to this sort of logic, especially divers, because they're more environmentally aware because they see what's going on. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but on social media, there are a lot more videos of just fun things that have been happening in the ocean. You see, there's a lot of I'm not sure if you've seen, there have been a couple of octopus videos where an octopus actually took the camera off of a diver and turned it around. Who does that? Who even thought that was happening? But you're seeing more and more of that. So divers are able to communicate to the world what they see and what's happened. And you see, I've seen 2 in the last week where one diver took net off the the pectoral fin of a whale shark, and another one that took it off the I guess the foot of a sea turtle.
Yes.
And you see that, and you see the response to that. You just like, wow, this is awesome, thank you, that. And then the awareness that, does this happen all the time? You see comments like that, and I'm quoting these comments, and you're seeing that divers almost have this social responsibility now that you can use GoPros or more expensive cameras if you want, but to communicate what they see to other people. And if I were a diver and I had well, I am a diver, and if I went diving all the time and I got to take videos, I would say I was with this operator and they helped me take the net off this whale, just so that the dive operator can get promotion out of it, because that's a cool thing to do.
This is of speaking to retail activism. This is exactly what is happening, and our industry is not aware of it, is that people are starting to vote with their dollars, and when they see an operator that may be harassing an animal, like that video that was going around about the octopus being harassed, that's going to be posted, and this is huge. This is where we're going. That people are voting with their dollars. If they find out that you, a dive operator, are being irresponsible, not doing the ethical, moral thing of protecting the ocean in front of your place, or anywhere, in fact, then they're just not going to go and visit you. And the thing is that dive operators are so invested in their business, and they're just humming along, concentrating on filling beds if they're on a resort, filling beds and boats, and this whole other aspect of conservation and teaching and whatever is just like, I can't take it on. There's just too much. But with the social entrepreneurship model, this mindset goes by the wayside.
Absolutely.
And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about how we can wear so many hats. Where do we get our juice? Where do we get the energy to do all this?
The energy comes from inside here. It comes from your heart. And I say that, and not to be all like, universal and too holistic and hippie-ish kind of thing, but it does. Like, as a scientist, and all the other scientists, we are driven by our passion for the environment. We are driven by the passion to be out in nature. And that's what drives us. Because I'll be honest, as a scientist, I don't get the big bucks. I'm not getting $100,000 six-figure pay. I'm not getting that. My benefit is when I'm out there, I feel good about myself because I'm doing something good for the planet, right? I'm contributing to science. I'm contributing to the planet. I'm contributing to the conservation. That has gone to everybody. That has gone to a lot more people now. There's a movement of social entrepreneurship where we wear many hats because it's still starting. Like, that movement is still starting. So there's not a formula for it. So it's difficult to begin. It can be complex at times because people don't understand what you're doing right off the bat. But I'll tell you, when you get it done, it blows up. People love it. And you wear many hats because, I work a full-time job. I do get burnt out. When I first started, I got burnt out. It happens because you try and take on too much. You want to do stuff and you're motivated to do it. There are certain things you can do once you get to a certain point to alleviate some of that work, so you can have some downtime, because you need downtime at some point. But I outsource a lot of my stuff to virtual assistants so that I don't have to. I'm not always on. I can actually rest and think about ideas and develop them properly. But there's a lot of people in our industry. In the dive world, in ocean conservation worlds, sometimes both, they cross over a lot, where we do wear many hats because we feel we need to do more. It's that incessant need to be like, I need to protect the ocean, but I also want to have my own business.
So this speaks to the whole problem of the dive industry that I see, and that is our why.
Right.
People have disconnected from their why. Oh, you can see that I've got purple on my hands from my children. They've disconnected from their why. And we're so busy running businesses that we're not really, we can't see beyond the gerbil wheel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you do this because you have a really powerful why. And this is your purpose. You know that you're here for a purpose. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me that everything you do and everything that everybody does on the summit, it's all based on their purpose.
Yeah.
And their decisions all of a sudden start to fall into place because their purpose is so powerful that other stuff just does not, they don't take on other stuff.
No, exactly.
Because everything is focused based on their purpose.
Yeah.
And our industry has to really start looking at our purpose. Why are we in this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it helps. A lot of people, when we talk about the many hats and how busy we get, and there are times where you stray because you stray from that purpose because you're not focused on it enough. You're just focused on other things, all the tangents that you can follow. But what I like to do is, a friend and a fellow entrepreneur told me about this, is write down a vision board. Write down your impact on a whiteboard or on a Bristol board or whatever you have in your house. Write it down so you see it every day. Write it where you see it. I have it on my phone. I have it on my whiteboard. I look at it every day and I say, am I meeting my impact? Am I meeting my purpose? That drives me. Once I get that, I get focused. What am I supposed to do? And there are times like I Speak Up for Blue is I don't make much money off of it. A lot of the times it's just my purpose is my drive. The products and services will come in time, but my purpose is my drive. And I find it very important because, one, it makes me feel good, right? And I'm at that situation right now. I'm only working on it, 4 hours a night, every night, because that's how much time I have. So, but I have a job, so I have that grace period, right? Where I don't have to make money off of it. If I was doing it full time, I'd be a little more pressured, but I'd be able to dedicate more time to it to get some kind of income coming in, and that'll come in time. But I always focus on, am I meeting my purpose? Because if I don't, then there's no point of Speak Up for Blue, right? There's no point of the For Purpose lifestyle. I want to make sure that I'm helping or I'm contributing to my impact first, and focus on the impact, and everything else will fall in place as you develop. But writing that vision and seeing it everywhere you go, it focuses you so much that it gives me my motivation.
I use my skills and my abilities to do this, and everybody has unique skill sets. Nobody's in competition with anybody else because everybody has their own unique skill sets, and everybody has their own unique driver, the why. Everybody has their own unique why.
Yeah.
And so having this written out and knowing, like, because people say to me, Laura, you read so much. I mean, come on, like, get your nose out of that book.
Yeah.
And I felt guilty, right?
Right.
But then people going, Laura, how does this work? How does that work? Do you know somebody who can tell me about this? And I'm going,
Yeah.
And
it's because you're reading. It's because you're doing the research of your purpose.
Well, this is it. I love to learn and I love to share. So this is all part of focusing in on what you love to do. And that will give you the energy, that'll give you the drive that you have, and with your science work, mm-hmm. you are helping other budding marine scientists to find jobs.
Yeah.
I mean it's all connected. It's not way off in left field. Everything you do is connected. Yeah. So it's not like you're having all these different pots bubbling away. It everything connects, and that's the power of purpose, is that you leverage what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I love what you did with your summit, your On Purpose Summit.
Yeah.
I want to ask you what some of the takeaways were. Give me 3 takeaways for that summit, if you could. Just 3. But
yeah, sure, no problem. So just to let people know what it was, essentially it's a summit to help inspire people to become social entrepreneurs and start a business that was a social enterprise. I guess the 3 takeaways. The first one, it makes you feel great. Like, I felt fantastic after talking to each. I did 10 interviews and talked to a wide variety of people, and it felt fantastic talking to people, and it actually gave me the idea to continue those interviews later on, and we'll talk about that in a second. But that was probably number 1. The second one, and it's a close, it's close between number 1 and number 2, but we talked about it's drive with your impact. Focus on your impact, because that's what really counts in your business. When you are a social enterprise, you essentially become a mission-based company. Right? And when you're a mission-based company, you are driven by that mission. You are driven by that impact. Your products and your services become the fuel to fuel your impact, right? That's essentially what it is. So that those products and services they're important to, for your survival, your sustainability financially. That's fantastic. But it really goes towards, I want to make a difference. And I think that was my big aha moment. That changed the way I was focusing on Speak Up for Blue. It really did, and it really brought me home. It actually made me rewrite my vision and what I wanted Speak Up for Blue to become. And I guess my third thing would be that there are so many different ways that you can become a social entrepreneur. You talked a little bit about how, people are worried about competing against everybody, but social enterprises can work on over every industry. It really just takes about how the entrepreneur or the business or the corporation, doesn't matter how big you are, you can make a change in the world. It's just a matter of what you pick. It doesn't even have to be related to your company. It can be separated, it can be disconnected, but you're just passionate about something else, and you use your business as a way to fuel that impact, right? It goes back to number 2. But you can, it crosses over every industry, and that's what I love about it, is anybody can do it. I was in the Home Depot parking lot the other day, and over the loudspeaker they're talking about the charities that they work with, and how they use their charity. Two things that kind of stood out is, one, they want to talk about the change that they're making. Okay, I don't remember the charity, to be honest, but they're talking about the charity. 2, they're kind of advertising that they do good work, and because they're doing it for a reason, because people will buy from people who do good work. It is for sure. And you see a lot of scuba diving industries now, they're sponsoring, I forget, I don't want to name the actual company because I don't want to bias on anything, but they're sponsoring an entire organization, a shark education organization, right? So they use their product, they use the person who's head of it as the model, because she goes out diving all the time, but she is an activist and she's an educator for shark conservation, and so they get their name on it. But it's part of their retail, their retail entrepreneurship or activism is they're actually going out and saying, we support this organization and we're providing in-kind service or products that they can actually go out and do their work. That's huge. I'm gonna go buy from that company because of that. So I think it goes over everything. It can cross every industry, and I think that was my big, third takeaway. I think it was just one of those things where you just after that summit, I was just like, man, this learning about different people doing it. I didn't know that many people were social entrepreneurs. I didn't think it was that big when I first started, but then I was like, oh wow, and then I found out how easy it could be.
And it's subtle. A lot of it can be quite subtle. People just do it because it drives them, and you may not even see it unless you dig deep into their website that this is what they're doing. It can be quite subtle, or it can be quite out in the open. I know that G Adventures, they're quite out in the open. What they do, this is their whole business model. They lead with impact.
Yeah.
And their why.
Yeah.
And they and they do travel all over the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, another one is Badger Bomb, who I interviewed recently. They started off as a company, and what's kind of cool about social entrepreneurism, it uses the person, whoever started the company, uses their values on life, and it just basically reflects it in their business. So Badger Bomb started with a contractor who lived in New England and had dry hands in the winter, so it would get all chapped. His hands would get cuts and stuff like that. He was into herbal medicines and just natural kind of medicines and lotions, made a balm for himself, and then started giving it out to other contractors that he knew to say, hey, you know what, this actually will help in the winter, it's dry, it'll help your hands, because you work with your hands, you don't want them to hurt.
But no badgers were killed in the process, right?
It's just a name to show that badgers are really tough and resilient. No, I promise you. That's the first thing I asked. But that turned into a huge mission-based company saying that we want to bring in natural products to other people. I mean, obviously, that's a longer story, but that's essentially what happened. And now they're working on committees to help reduce animal testing and bring in more natural products to the cosmetic industry, because they're a mission-based company. And I when I heard that, I'm like, that's amazing. My mind was blown when I heard that. I was like, that's just fantastic. People can do that work because it reflects their it's a family-based business, and it reflects their sort of lifestyle. and you can do that now.
You know that this is not going away when all the big business schools are teaching this now. The thing is that the students aren't yet up high enough in a number of these industries to be able to really have an impact. And we don't hire very many Harvard Business School graduates in the dive industry.
Right.
So our dive industry is being a little bit, off the beaten track to have that affected. But we're right in the thick of it when it comes to using these kinds of models of our future.
Well, and I don't think you have to be an Ivy League school graduate to start these kind of things. What I think they teach it in these Ivy League MBA programs and graduate programs and even undergraduate programs. But I think what's happening now is kind of how I started. I don't have an MBA. I don't have a business degree. I love business. I love entrepreneurship. And I learn about this on my own, and I follow different people who, may have had higher education but are disseminating their information so that we can do well. Adam Braun just came out with Pencils for Promise. He created an organization, a volunteer organization that builds schools in many developed countries. It's that organization went viral. Your celebrities are supporting it, and business leaders are supporting it, and politicians are supporting it. It was just one guy who started this kind of thing, and kept it small and just started it. And what's happening, and it's the reason why I started this For Purpose Lifestyles website and podcast, is because I don't want people to think I need to be an MBA graduate to start this thing. I'm an entrepreneur. I want to do good. I'm going to let my heart dictate what impact I want to make. And I just want to provide them with the tools to do it. That's the idea.
And going forward, this is the reason why they're teaching in Harvard, because they realize that the traditional business models don't work anymore, and that we need to get on to something new. And if they're going to send graduates out there to really give value to businesses, they better know how to do this stuff. And this is where we're going. This is where we're at.
Yeah.
And what you're doing with your For Purpose Lifestyle, I think it's great. How do we find you?
You can go to forpurposelifestyle.com. It's all one word, of course. It's a little long, but you can find me there. I will have a podcast that'll probably be released by the time this airs, and it's a podcast where I talk to other social entrepreneurs who have started their enterprises. My first interview was Rebecca Hamilton from Badger Bomb, and we talk all about how they develop a business, the advice that they can give to people who want to become social entrepreneurs. I've got some dive industry people coming on soon. I talked to Brad Nahel. We talked about seaturtles.org. I just talked to him last week, so that's recorded. And it's just basically talking about how people's passions have really turned into their lifestyle. Which is living a lifestyle that has a purpose, right? I go with the for purpose business model. I love that sort of model and that term. It's not necessarily for profit. It's reaching that triple bottom line, and that's what it's all about. So you can check me out. We have a Facebook page. I'll give you the link, so maybe you can post it on the show notes, and they can find me there. But yeah, and then that's kind of my new focus, is to really help inspire people to do good with their business and still enjoy a lifestyle and the lifestyle that they want to lead.
Yay! Listen, Andrew, thank you so much for being with us. Lots of great info, lots of inspiration, I think. I know.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, and so we'll make sure that people can find you online. And you and I are going to stay in touch, because we got some things that we're cooking.
Absolutely. And I just want to say thank you for doing the summit. I think it's one of those things that's needed. People need to start talking about this stuff. And one piece of advice that I want to leave you with and your audience with, especially dive operators, is you may not be able to find your purpose right away. But the best, you may not be able to think about it on the spot. Right now, people might get inspired and they'll be like, oh, I want to do something, but what do? I don't know where to start. The best thing to do, write ideas down on a piece of paper. You can erase them. You can scratch them out. You can rewrite them. Start writing them down every day. Write a different idea down or change your original idea and look at that. And that'll develop into a plan, eventually. And keep it simple and just keep writing those ideas down, because I think that will get you more that'll get you to implement it faster.
Yeah. Great advice. Great advice.
I'm glad you
I always say, write down what you love and write down what you really don't love. And usually it's a combination of both.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Andrew, thanks again. We're going to stay in touch, and best of luck launching your podcast. I'm there. I'm going to be listening.
I look forward to it.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take care.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.